can change the world? Really? As someone who has made a living over the last decade, both as a school teacher and as a motivational speaker, I am probably guilty of telling tens of thousands of people that they can change the world. But do we really believe it? Do I really believe it? Can you, can I, can anybody in this room really change the world? It sounds nice. It's inspiring, it's motivating. Is it true? I mean, think about what you did last week. Last week I attended some meetings, did some marketing, worked on some email, gave a presentation to about a couple of dozen people, and yet the world remained very much the same as it had been the week before. And so I wonder if it's really fair to ask, can we change the world? We tell kids that they can all the time. In fact, if you Google "kids can change the world," you'll get 500,000 hits. Maybe that's why kids are becoming slightly disillusioned. Maybe it's because of what we have taught them changing the world means. See, when you grow up, if you think about it, what do we show kids about changing the world? What does that look like to them? Well, it looks like wearing a uniform or wearing a cape, having a position or having power, or maybe it means fighting in a war. It means big things. It means you're Gandhi or you're Mother Teresa or you're some world-renowned figure who's going to make a massive impact that will change the course of history. And so is it any wonder that when they surveyed last year 1,000 16-year-olds in England, 50% of them wanted to grow up to be famous. Not a doctor, not a lawyer, not a teacher, famous. And some people will blame that on pulp culture and on reality TV. I wonder if maybe they think the only way to change the world is when everybody knows who you are. And I would like to challenge us tonight to think about changing the world in a very, very different way. There was a movie several years ago called The Butterfly Effect. Many of you will have seen it. Ashton Kutcher stars in the movie. And the premise is that small, seemingly insignificant events can lead to chain reactions over time that create massive results that were initially unintended. The character in the movie has the power to go back in time and alter events in his life to change the course of his own path in life. Unbeknownst to him, he also changes the course of many other lives and the events around the world. The butterfly effect is actually a scientific phenomenon. It's actually proven in physics. I don't understand it very well. Dr. Hawks could explain it certainly better than I can. But it's real. And it's named the butterfly effect, as some of you may know, because scientists have been able to prove that, at least in theory, a butterfly can flap its wings or not, and through the course of several reactions, determine whether or not a hurricane will hit a particular place on the other side of the world. Now, that's a really powerful idea when you think about it. A seemingly insignificant event of a tiny creature flapping its wings can cause a massive weather event across the world. And so it begs the question, what can you and I do? What does changing the world really look like? Well, for me, it looked something like this. On September in 2001, a doctor walked into a hospital room and told me that I had 2 years to live. Need of a heart and double lung transplant, the chances of survival were not good. I was transported to Toronto. We waited nearly a year. Fortunately, on September the 6th, 2002, a nurse comes to my door at the hospital room and says, "Mark, there's a call for you at the nurse's station." I walk down the hall, I pick up a phone, and a woman on the other end says, "Mr. Black, I think we have a set of heart and lungs for you." Several hours later, I was being operated on. 5 days later, I was in the ICU sitting up for the first time. 2.5 years later, I was crossing the finish line of a marathon. And now we are blessed to have two beautiful, healthy children together with my wife. I've had the privilege to speak to over 100,000 people around North America. And I say all of that not to impress you, but to impress upon you the idea of what a single action can do. The single action of that one family, somewhere in the world, we have no idea where, who said one word. And probably in that little ICU, wherever they were, going through an incredibly difficult time, that one word didn't seem all that important. They said yes. A medical staff person approached them and said, "Would you be willing to give your loved one's organs?" And they said yes. And that seemingly insignificant one word set off a series of reactions that resulted in my being able to stand before you today. Statistically, we know that probably if they gave all of their organs, they saved the lives of 8 other people. And then if they gave bone and tissue, they probably improved the lives of up to 50 others. And so if you look at that picture and you think that one little yellow person who ultimately directly impacted the lives of 50 plus others, and that's amazing. But then let's carry the experiment a little bit further. How many of those people affected many other people? I've spoken to 100,000. What have all the other people been doing? And what have those people been doing? And what have those people been doing? You know, as motivational speakers, some people think that we believe we travel around the world changing lives. There are some speakers who have big enough heads to believe that. I like to think that hopefully we spark an idea in somebody, and they take that spark and they flame and they fan the flame, and that ignites something within them, and they go and they take action and they do something, and that produces a reaction that somebody else reacts to, and the movement grows and change happens, and they can make big things happen, but they do it on their own. But they do it because of that one spark, because of that one action. And so if I think about the hundreds of thousands of people that will ultimately be touched because of that one person's yes, imagine the impact. What if one of those people is inspired to go and study science? What if one of those silver figures is the person who cures cancer? What if one of those silver figures is the person who figures out how to feed all of the people around the world? Then that one seemingly small action of saying yes will have changed the world. And so we can't all pretend that we're going to get up tomorrow and make headlines. But we can all get up tomorrow and try and change somebody's world. Every morning when I get up, my goal is to change these 2 worlds. To make them a little bit better than they were the day before. To raise them so that one day they may have an impact on somebody else's life. So that ultimately, all together, we can change the world.